Oh, this is great. Listen to this. CBS's The Stand is under fire for casting an actor who can hear to play a deaf man. Yeah. Because there's nothing like objective reality and the movies, which are fantasy. Fantasy and reality are the same thing. Yeah, you gotta love this identity politics bullshit, by the way. Yeah. All movies have to be played by people who are exactly like the character, at least in some superficial way that makes this person a minority, because there's not that many deaf people in America. So they're a oppressed minority, and oppressed minorities should get first shot at all jobs they want to do, including movie roles. Uh-huh. Does that mean that if I make a movie about a fucking serial killer, did I have to employ a serial killer? Does this mean if I make a movie about a bank robber that I need to employ an actual bank robber? How am I going to get him out of jail? Oh, he already did his time. What if he's not an actor? Well, it doesn't matter. By the way, if you're talking about that small a pool of people, where you're judging them based solely on something so facile and surface like whether or not they hear or they can't hear, well, what does that have to do with acting ability? I mean, what if the person who fits the role physically and their mannerisms is an actor that isn't deaf? By the way, I thought it was called acting. He can pretend to be deaf. No. Can't do that. Has to go to a deaf person. By the way, can somebody explain to me why deaf people need so much special help? Aren't there a lot of successful deaf people out there? Don't deaf people, by and large, do pretty good economically speaking? I mean, I don't know if there's been a study done of this, but I have yet to see a fucking homeless deaf person. I'm just saying. Oh, man. Anyway, before I get into the meat of this story, I'd like to ask those of you out there who like and appreciate the raw, red-pilled-in-your-face nature of my content to please consider making a donation by going to therealistphilosopher.com/donate. That is therealistphilosopher.com/donate, and consider making a donation. I could really use your help. One way to donate is to my Bitcoin wallet. I just got my first Bitcoin donation the other day. I'm hoping to add much more to it. You can donate whatever amount you want in Bitcoin. Number 2, Cash App. You can donate directly, and it's anonymous. And number 3, my Patreon, which is a per-piece platform, and I make about 8 pieces a month, so it's a subscription style. So if you donate $1, that's like $8 a month, 50 cents, $4 a month. It's completely, totally up to you how much you donate. But any amount is greatly appreciated, and you get some nice extra perks as well if you support my work. So consider doing that by going to therealistphilosopher.com/donate. Could really use your help. All right, onward to the story. So The Stand is being remade? Wasn't that made back in like the late 80s or early 90s? Wasn't there a mini series made? That was pretty good, actually. That was a good mini series. Why do we have to remake everything? Can't somebody come up with something new in Hollywood? Nah. We got no balls. We don't want to take risks. We might say or do the wrong thing or send the wrong message and then get boycotted by the radical left. No, let's just play it safe. Remake The Stand. Why? The Stand that was made is already perfectly good. I don't get this. So CBS new drama, The Stand. Wait a second. Is this a TV show? Drama? Is it a mini-series? By the way, I think I read the book. It's a big fucking book, but I don't know that it's big enough to make a multi-season television show. It's big enough for a mini-series. So the new drama, an adaptation of Stephen King's classic dystopian novel, has come under fire for casting an actor who can hear to play a deaf character. We must destroy all delineation between fantasy and objective reality. They are the same. With activists now calling on Hollywood studios to change their hiring practices. So let me get this straight. James Bond is a white man, but we can replace him with a black woman, and that's okay. Oh, man, but we can't have a guy that can hear play a deaf person. Really? Well, it doesn't serve their narrative, so, they make the little special pleading arguments, the little logical fallacies to excuse it. Prominent members of men are evil, patriarchal oppressors, and deaf people are an oppressed class, so it's okay. Prominent members of the deaf community, in a new letter that has been circulating online, have complained. I don't believe that. What prominent members of the deaf community? I've had some experience with deaf people, and they, generally speaking, are very self-sufficient, stand on their own 2 feet, get offended by the implication that they need special help type individuals. So I'm kind of doubting that prominent members of the deaf community, what does that mean? Sounds like when CNN says, anonymous sources. Yeah, what sources? Well, they're anonymous. Who are these prominent people? And who, by the way, is declaring them prominent? So the miniseries cast, hearing actor Henry Zaga will play the role of Nick Andros. By the way, haven't they already changed the character? Wasn't Nick Andros a white dude? A milquetoast-looking white dude? Now he's not a white dude. We haven't changed him enough. And also, he needs to be changed to a different race and deaf. Yeah, the lone deaf survivor of a virus that wipes out most of humanity. Interesting. Let's check a picture of this guy out, by the way, this Nick Andros guy, whatever his name is. That's not a white dude. Why don't you have a problem with the fact they changed the character from white to Middle Eastern? That guy's pretty fucking swarthy, yo. He could be a literal fucking pirate in the Ottoman fucking Empire. Wait, he's half blind too. So he's fully deaf and half blind. That's not enough. The character. Well, that's right. They don't care what the character is. They care about the person who's playing the character. So they've changed the character to be half blind. Then shouldn't the person that you would choose to play him also need to be half blind in real life as well as totally deaf? How many actors, and by the way, the point that I just made is 100% cogent. If they have a problem with this guy not being deaf, then they also have to have a problem with any actor who is not half blind. Why don't they care about that? We don't know of any actors in Hollywood that are libtard, progressive, regressive fucking commies who wear an eye patch. We don't know any actors in Hollywood that we control that are half blind. But we do know some that are deaf, so, we wanted them in there. Why didn't you just make it a woman, though? And a midget, and trans. Why don't you just go all out and change everything about the character? It's crazy. This is so stupid. I don't know why I'm talking about this. Well, I'm talking about it because it's so fucking stupid. There's no cohesion, no consistency within these people's arguments. It's totally retarded. Enough is enough, reads the letter. This is coming from the supposed prominent members of the deaf community. I guess there's deaf libtards out there too, I suppose. You'd think they would have a better grasp of how objective reality works, what with their lives supposedly being more difficult than other people's because they can't hear. I guess not. I guess life has been made so easy for them that they don't have any real conception of how objective reality works. I guess, there's so many programs and so much aid for deaf people now. They're pretty pampered, I guess. You'd have to be a fucking deaf libtard. Anyway, we, the undersigned, and they don't tell us who signed it, are all professional union, socialist, and non-union members. And are taking a stand in the release of the miniseries. Oh, wow. How clever of you. Work the word of the miniseries into your objections. More than 70 individuals. Oh, wow. That many. Yeah. Including actresses and disability activists. And actors are calling out the miniseries. I don't get this. Which is the new adaptation of Stephen King's classic dystopian novel, The Stand. Okay, so I think the way the narrative goes that if you're in the oppressor class, the majority, you don't get any of these special identity politics considerations. You're only allowed to impose these kind of identity politic specifics when it comes to roles in Hollywood and jobs in regards to people who are like a minority. Of course, it excludes Asian people and Jews because they look white, I guess. There's a lot of special pleading arguments in this bullshit, which is a logical fallacy, but just ignore all those. Yeah, so that's how it works, I guess. If you're a member of a minority group, you get first crack. And whatever your identity group classification is, that comes first and foremost unless you're white. Then you don't get to have those things taken into consideration. You do, but against you. But if you're in a minority group, they're taken into consideration as a positive, meaning for you. So if you're white, well, you don't get any special consideration. But if you're black or deaf or half-blind, apparently the half-blind doesn't apply because there's not enough half-blind people out there to buy their vote and to turn them into libtards to then be your useful idiot sheep. We want minorities, but not that small a minority. Yeah, I see. So the selection of the hearing actor to portray Nick Andros in The Stand is not acceptable. Notice they don't have a problem with him being Muslim, even though the original Nick Andros character is a white dude. The character Nick Andros is deaf and signs. Okay, so what? He can't learn to sign? Not one deaf professional actor was called in to audition for the role. Maybe because there's very few of them and none of them fit the, character type they were looking for. Just going out on a limb. Well, we don't care about that. Your main consideration should be their identity, not whether or not they have the qualifications to fit the role. I'm confused. Wouldn't this be like hunting for the next CEO of your company, and the only consideration is if they're gay or black or brown, and not whether or not they actually have the qualifications for the job? Isn't that like the same thing? Anyway, the decision was made without respect to and for deaf professionals. There was no acknowledgement given to the psyche of a deaf character. Being deaf is more than just not hearing. Isn't that exactly what it is, though? No! We need to overcomplicate things so we can confuse everybody! And nobody can see the truth. Yeah, that's all being deaf is. You can't hear. Last time I checked, at this time of diversity and inclusion, this cycle of misrepresentation. Oh, I see. So the automatic assumption here, and by the way, he's not white, so how can you say that there's no inclusion going on? I mean, he's a brown dude. Doesn't that count? No! Now there's too many of them in the country, and we have a more difficult time controlling the black and the brown man. We need to ever rarefy the strata of people that we indoctrinate to be useful idiots and then give them more power in society. Because the smaller the group, the more power we can wield through them. Oh, I see. The fact that he's brown doesn't really matter as much as if he was a deaf dude. Oh, lovely. This cycle of misrepresentation and unequal or non-existent employment opportunities for deaf professionals in the entertainment industry. There's not that many deaf people. Healthcare has gotten to such a point. Not a lot of deaf people are being born. I mean, are we supposed to go search among the bankers and the lawyers? And there are deaf lawyers, by the way. They employ, people who hand sign. They do well enough in court. They learn to, talk like that, but you can still understand them. They're coherent. They can do their job. What are we supposed to be go looking for? Deli owners and fucking fry cooks? Are we supposed to be looking among that population for an actor to play this role? We got plenty of actors who can act. They're actors. I don't get this. So stupid. Oh, man. So, yeah, there are non-existent employment opportunities. I don't know. Wasn't there that good-looking broad that had that appearance in the Seinfeld episode? And she mistook the word six for sex? She was deaf. Could it be that maybe deaf people, generally speaking, don't get into acting because it requires a lot of talking and mannerisms and ways of expressing oneself that they don't possess because they're deaf? So there's non-existent employment opportunities for deaf professionals in the entertainment industry, both in front of and behind the camera. Well, now, come on. I don't know about that. And by the way, this is what I love. Did you ever stop to think that deaf people are not interested in these kind of positions? Because the majority of the job, at least half of it anyway, has to do with hearing. And the other half is seeing. They got that, but they like the hearing. I don't know. Well, that's true. There are a lot of other professions that require hearing, but there's a whole lot of hearing required in acting. I mean, being a fucking lawyer, you appear in court, but that's the majority, not the majority of your job. The majority of your job is research and preparing arguments and such. Could it be that deaf people just don't want to work in Hollywood overwhelmingly? Oh, no, that can't be it. There has to be some kind of systemic racism, sexism, oppression, whatever. Oppression Olympics going on because, they're deaf. So they're a very small number of the population, so they must be getting oppressed. They must be getting systematically excluded. Where's your argument for that? The fact that they're being excluded. Yet another circular argument. Oh, yeah, this has been happening for decades. Aren't you just trying to shoehorn in people that may not be interested? They make these same arguments with women. Whoa, wage gap. It's really an earnings gap. Oh, people they are excluding women from higher paying positions. Nah, it couldn't be that women are different from men and that they don't want to work 80-hour weeks and give up their fucking lives for their work. It couldn't be that. No, because there's no differences between men and women. It's all social constructs, don't you know? Any differences you see are just a social construct. There's no biological basis for any of this. Yeah. And the same goes for deaf people. Yeah, they couldn't just prefer not to work in Hollywood, by and large. Oh, no, there's got to be systematic exclusion going on, discrimination. Talk about confirmation bias. Jesus. The Stand stars Whoopi Goldberg. Oh, my God. Is she even old enough to play that old fucking black lady? Wasn't that old black lady like 100 years old or something? Well, yeah. Whoopi Goldberg ain't looking too good for her age. I know she's in her 60s, but she looks like she's in her 80s, so maybe she could pull it off. I don't know. I hate her anyway. She's another libtard. She's probably all for this identity politics bullshit. Whoopi Goldberg, Alexander Skarsgård, James Marsden, among others. Okay, man, never heard of half these people. The letter goes on to say that the undersigned will not endorse, watch, or support your miniseries on CBS All Access. What the fuck do they care? What are they like? Not a lot of deaf people in America, and certainly not a lot of deaf people who ascribe to your type of identity politics bullshit, thank God. We will share our displeasure of the casting decision. Yeah, because we are prominent members of the deaf community because we said we was. Of the casting decision and airing of the miniseries on CBS All Access with our deaf community. Yeah, a couple hundred people. Big fucking whoop-de-doo. Signing community, friends, and family of deaf individuals. Signing meaning... Yeah. Together we make up 466 million worldwide. How many in America where this show is predominantly showing up? Isn't America like 5% of the American population, of the world population? So what's 5% of 466 million? 10% would be 46 million. So 23 million. So roughly around 20 million people in America. Who fucking cares? Oh, yeah. You got a lot of influence among that 20 million. I guarantee you that around 23 million number, most of them are offended by this. Most of them would not use their identity as a deaf person to advance their career. Again, I've known a lot of deaf people, and generally speaking, they tend to be very self-sufficient. They want to prove everybody wrong. They don't want anybody to think that they're weak, that they can't take care of themselves, that they're actually in some way disabled. So they work very hard to make up for that impression on many people's parts in regards to being deaf. They want to prove people wrong, and generally speaking, they do. Again, ain't seen too many deaf, homeless people. There's a reason for that. They work very hard to be self-sufficient and successful, to prove all the naysayers wrong and to prove that they are as able as people who can hear. So I don't think you can get a lot of support from these 23 million people who may or may not watch a lot of TV as it is because they can't hear. They're probably spending a lot of their time reading, okay? Anyway, the letter concludes by calling on Hollywood to change its hiring practices to favor identity politics considerations over merit and casting the correct person for the role. Yeah, that's going to work out real well for their bottom line. I don't think so. It is time for industry professionals to create opportunities for deaf talent. Wait. The majority of people are not deaf, though. You have to understand also that art is supposed to mirror life to a certain extent. And if the majority of your population ain't deaf, they're not going to want to interact, have to deal with a lot of deaf individuals. I mean, I don't know about you, but The fact that there's not a lot of deaf people out there isn't going to encourage me to put deaf characters in my movie, because people sitting in an audience watching a movie don't want to see one or multiple characters. What the fuck is that person saying? And they need a fucking translator and subtitles. Subtitles are bad enough when I'm watching a fucking foreign movie, for God's sake. All right, you got to deal with them, okay? You're watching a French film, you get the subtitles. You get a Chinese film. All right. That's an English movie and I need fucking subtitles. Come on. I can't relate to that person. It's about relatability and a bottom line. And who's going to pay to see your fucking tripe? Oh, but no. Got to throw all those considerations out the window. Yeah. We have to create opportunities for deaf talent to work on the set. Why? But you're presuming and actually coming out and outright saying that the only reason there are not deaf people, more deaf people in Hollywood, and by the way, I'm sure there are deaf people in Hollywood, all right? Just not so many, because it's a very fast-paced environment, you know? Things are happening fast, have to be done fast. When you got deaf people here who can't fucking hear you, and I have to run across the set to tell the deaf fucking lighting technician what the fuck to do, or I gotta learn fucking sign language, well, that's kind of a barrier to the efficient operation of the fucking set. There are real fucking objective considerations we have to take into account. Oh, but no. No. You'll just have to hire a fucking, sign language translator or 3 or 4 and pay them a salary in addition to your deaf lighting technicians. Could it be that there's a lot of objective barriers that exist in the reality that is Hollywood that make getting a position as a deaf person in Hollywood highly problematic? Meaning that it's better to hire somebody that hears because the specific environmental considerations of a movie set exclude deaf people? That reality excludes them? Reality excluded them from hearing. You don't seem to have a problem with that. You lefty scum. I don't see you running around raising fucking money so they can get a cochlear implant and then they can hear. Well, then we wouldn't be able to use them as useful idiot shills in the very small numbers that they exist in. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's great. We don't want them to hear. Oh, no. We need small minorities that we can empower and then control society through them. Yeah, interesting. So, anyway, yeah, we need more deaf people in writing rooms, on creative teams. When there's a deaf character involved in a storyline. How often is that? It's not often. How many movies have you seen with a deaf character? Not too many. Our voice is a sign of these times. You mean like the fucking teacher from Charlie Brown? That's the voice of these times? Okay. By the way, I got no problem with deaf people, okay? As long as I can understand them, I don't care what kind of weird alien timbre their voice might have. But I don't think that's the voice of your time, of the times, okay? I really don't. 466 million worldwide out of a population of about 8 billion. You're not the voice of the times, okay? Sorry, you're a minority, which is, of course, why they're being empowered. It's very difficult to control a self-sufficient majority of the population. But it's very easy to control and make a small minority of a population feel oppressed and then to wield power through them. Which is what Marxism is really about. The oppressor and oppressed narrative. And if you are a minority, you are automatically oppressed, unless you're a Jew, or Asian, or white, living in a fucking foreign country. Yeah, oh, okay. Anyway, social media users also weighed in and promoted the hashtag Stand Against the Stan. Yeah, Stand Against the Stan. How clever of you. You lefties. That's the best you could do. That's the best they can do. There's absolutely no excuse for not hiring a deaf actor. Sure there is. They hired a Muslim dude with one eye. And he didn't even have one eye. Again, they changed the character to be a guy with one eye. Why aren't they complaining about not hiring an actual, legitimately half-blind guy? They're focusing on the fucking deafness. And again, the original character was white. Why aren't they complaining about that? Why didn't you hire a white actor? And also, the original character had both of his eyes working. Yeah. Oh, well, the original white character, that's white. Why people are automatically excluded from the oppressed class and the special pleading arguments we make on their behalf. Aha. Yeah, there's absolutely no excuse for hiring a non-deaf person. Could it be there was nobody that was deaf who fit the fucking role? Could it be that the director didn't want to take an extra 5 or 10 minutes after every fucking shoot to explain himself and what he wanted the fucking person playing this character to do to a fucking sign language translator? Could it be he didn't want to have that fucking headache? Was that okay? He should want more headaches. Oh, okay, yeah. You're a lefty libtard who's never worked a job, so yeah, I'm not listening to you. Morons. Deaf actors should play deaf roles. What? Representation matters. Oh, I see. So, yeah. Oh, this kind of representation mattering in regards to identity politics only applies to minorities. Equality matters unless you're white. Equity matters. No, it doesn't. Inclusion matters. Why don't you include more white people? No! So, Whoopi Goldberg says, I love you, but I am joining my deaf film and theater colleagues in solidarity. Virtue signaling pig that she is. I guess the ratings for The View were down. I guess her tyrannical rule of that show and everybody on it is, turning more and more people off every day. She's got to virtue signal more. I will not be endorsing, watching, or supporting The Stand. Didn't you star in it? Oh, this is interesting. So let me get this straight. You sell out whore, you, Whoopi Goldberg. This is amazing to me. You acted in a film, which means you actively participated in the production of the product. And now you're going to not endorse the product and, in fact, tell people not to purchase it, not to imbibe it, not in any way, shape, or form support your own work. Would that be like Henry Ford saying, don't buy my cars? Stupid. Wow, that's great. I'm sure she's going to get a lot more work in the future. Yeah, she actually might, unfortunately. This is amazing to me. She fucking stars in a movie, and then she tells people not to see it. And that's probably going to get her virtue points and more movie roles, which is just, it's so counterintuitive. Star in movies that I then go on to tell people not to watch. Yeah. You would think that would make it more difficult for you to get movie roles, but apparently not. But I am joining my deaf colleagues in solidarity. But you're not deaf. How are your colleagues in regards to deafness? I guess she's talking about them being actors. I will not be endorsing, watching, or supporting The Stand, even though I was an integral part of its creation and production. Oh, that's so interesting. So co-star Brad William Henke defended the actor, suggesting that the actor has approached playing the role of Nick Andros with much respect. He's a cool character, by the way. If anybody out there hasn't seen the original Stand, which is the only one I would suggest watching, go check it out. And I would definitely boycott watching this, but only because they have changed characters along identity politics lines, and they've made massive changes, so fuck them. The original is much better. And, of course, it's not going to be better. It's going to be worse. I mean, let's be honest. The original Stand came before this massive onslaught of identity politics infecting Hollywood, so it's much better than this piece of garbage, and I can say that with confidence, even though I haven't seen this, mainly because it has Whoopi Goldberg in it, who really toxic human being. So, you've never seen someone more serious about a role, which is beautiful, said Henke to Yahoo Entertainment. I don't know who Henke is, but anyway. So he had 2 technical advisors working for him all the time. He took it so seriously. He's a really good person, and he was really sweet to me. First of all, by this very logic, wouldn't Tom Hanks not have been able to play Forrest Gump? And wasn't Forrest Gump retarded? He had a fucking IQ of 75 as a white man. The only people that get the pass and not be retarded with an IQ of 75 are like black Somalis, okay? Or little pygmies living in the middle of the Amazon or something who have like a fucking average IQ of 68 or 70 or some shit, okay? A white person with a 75 IQ is retarded. Well, we should have a retarded person play that role. Well, the intricacies and subtleties of the role wouldn't have been able to be grasped by a retarded person. Oh, well. Notice nobody's making that argument retroactively because Hanks is a fucking libtard himself. Oh, but this very logic, if you apply it to every movie ever fucking made, those movies would be really, really fucking bad. Anyway, Henke is also playing a character with traits that he does not have, as the actor was cast to play Tom, who is mentally handicapped. Yeah, but They're not really trying to court the mentally handicapped segment of the population, okay? They're not real concerned about them. I mean, there might be a lot of them, but, they don't follow politics, and they're kind of immune to the identity politics stuff, okay? Oh, they're not really smart enough shills, all right, to be good, useful idiots to the left. So they really don't care about a non-retard guy playing a retard. And by and large, retarded people don't have a lot of moolah, to give to these libtard politicians that push this kind of bullshit and support this kind of bullshit. And, they're not much of a core audience, I suppose. I guess a lot of retarded people aren't going to the movies or participating in politics or voting. So, they're not voting too much, so, we really don't care about them. Yeah. I find this so interesting. So they don't care about a non-retarded guy playing a retard. But they care about a non-deaf guy playing a deaf guy. But they totally ignore the fact that they also changed the character from a fully seeing guy to a half-blind guy. They didn't mention that. We don't have any room in our ranks for half-blind people. What about fully blind people, huh? It's just crazy. Not to mention the fact that the original character was, again, white. Anyway, this is about as stupid a story as I would expect from the mainstream media of late. Yeah, he can hear. He's not deaf. He shouldn't play that role. There's also another thing I find very interesting. How the left is trying to weaponize every aspect of culture along identity politics lines. Lines which they could then use to control those groups. That's what it's all about. They don't care about deaf people. They care about control. That's what it is. And these people who are pushing this type of bullshit agenda and the useful idiot, supposed prominent members that they don't tell us the names of the fucking deaf community who are signing on to support this boycott the stand bullshit, they're just useful idiots themselves. Trying to win as many deaf people over to the left, libtard, progressive, regressive side. And empower yet another minority group to support the libtard agenda of global communism. Interesting. So interesting to me. Anyway, let me know what you think of this story, if it's a story at all. Should we be paying any attention to this nonsense? Should those of us with any logic and reason, like myself, be standing up and calling bullshit? Or is Whoopi Goldberg right? And are these prominent deaf people right? By the way, how are they prominent if they're a oppressed minority? Oppressed minorities shouldn't be able to become prominent in any way, shape, or form, should they? Doesn't the fact that there's prominent members of this community totally negate the idea of them being an oppressed group? Well, no. There's exceptions to every rule. Yeah, apparently there's a lot of exceptions. Let me know in the comments section. Please like and subscribe to my BitChute channel if you haven't already. www.bitchute.com/The Realist Philosopher. And again, if you really like and appreciate the raw, red-pilled nature of my content, you might want to consider making a donation because it's the only way I can continue to make content. TheRealistPhilosopher.com/donate. Could really use your help.